Closing arguments are underway in the federal criminal trial of Shandy Combs. It's the final stage of this dramatic sex trafficking and racketeering case against the disgraced music mogul. A case that has spanned more than 6 weeks with graphic testimony from dozens of witnesses, including celebrities. Combs has pleaded not guilty to all charges. This morning, the prosecution's up first. Friday, we expect the defense will have the floor. And I want to bring in defense attorney Misty Marris now. Misty, the prosecution, again, underway, giving their closing arguments. What are we expecting them to say?
So the prosecution is coming out with strategy right out the gate. The very first thing they said to the jury was, after weeks of testimony, you learned Combs is the head of a criminal enterprise. So they're starting out there with that RICO charge. And there's a reason for that, Anna, because the other charges, sex trafficking and the Mann Act, transportation to engage in prostitution, are actually not only charges against Combs, but they also qualify as what's called predicate crimes for RICO. So they're really interwoven. So I see where the prosecutors are going. They're also hitting a theme. The defendant counted on silence and shame and his fame and power to put everything, he's above the law, and to abuse his victims, including his employees and the women that are the basis for these charges. So we can already see the theme here, focused on the RICO, and then we'll move on to the other charges.
And the prosecution has said that they might take up to 4 hours to lay out the closing argument, so it's not going to be a quick one. But there was an interesting development yesterday, and I'd love to get your expertise on this and your insights. Yet the prosecutors revealed they were going to drop certain claims that they had argued about Combs' alleged involvement in attempted arson and kidnapping. Now, they said this was to help to streamline the jury instructions. They're not technically eliminating any charges here. So what's the significance?
Right. So that got a little confusing. All of the charges remain the same, but with RICO, we talked about it, they have to establish, the government, predicate crimes. And there's a list of 10 that the jury will be able to consider. Arson and kidnapping are on that list, along with other drug-related charges, sex trafficking, prostitution, obstruction of justice, and a host of others. What they removed was attempted kidnapping, attempted arson. The reason being, prosecutors don't want the jury back there splintering or disagreeing on whether or not this constitutes kidnapping or attempted kidnapping. They need to get the jury to agree unanimously on 2 of those predicate crimes that they were committed by the Combs enterprise in order to establish RICO. So it was really strategic. Sounded like it was good for the defense, actually better for the prosecution.
So did the prosecution prove their case? What's your take?
So my take is on the Mann Act, that's transportation to engage in prostitution. It is pretty simple. It is, did you cross state lines with that intent and then engage in prostitution? I think that's been proved by leaps and bounds. RICO, to me, it's still a little thin. Identifying who the co-conspirators are. Anna, I sat through, I was there for a lot of the trial. A lot of names came up. His chief of staff, his bodyguards. None of those individuals testified. That came in on text messages. So from a defense perspective, I'm going to point that out to the jury during my close. And on sex trafficking, this is a true jury question. It all comes down to whether or not there was force, fraud, or coercion with respect to the 2 victims, Cassie Ventura and Jane. And quite frankly, Cassie's case a bit stronger, Jane's case a bit weaker. Defense used text messages to undercut that aspect. I think that one could go either way.
Okay, we'll see. Thank you so much, Misty Marris.
Thank
Good
you.
to have you here.